Hey, welcome to the Dropship Podcast. And today we're going to talk about big sales. There's a reason we don't do low ticket, sell shit from China dropshipping and make $10 because we sell high ticket products where you can make real money selling real products people have definitely heard of. So I want to shout out some people from our Slack. So we have a members only Slack. If you're a member of our course, you can opt into our Slack channel, be part of that. And we have a show off channel. And so I want to shout out some people from our show off channel, as well as I want to talk about some of the biggest sales I've ever had. And you mentioned one from one of our students that I think takes the cake on that one. So we'll save her for the end. But wow, that's a big number. So from the show off channel, I pulled a few out of there. Reese, who I believe has been on this show before, maybe not, maybe I'm dreaming that. He had an 8.5K sale. Samson had a 26K day. That sounds like a wonderful day. 26,000 in sales. Lindsay got her first sale, so I want to shout out Lindsay. She is on every single call. She doesn't miss a call. Shout out to you, Lindsay. Keep doing the work. And then Blake, friend of the show, he's been on here before. 199K a month. That sounds like a lot of fun to me. Andy W shared a 23.5K sale and said, great way to start the month. And in that picture, he had 5 other sales. So $32,000 a day on the first day of the month. That sounds like a really good time. I wanted to shout all these people out and really talk about our biggest sales. John, there's a reason I like high ticket dropshipping, because you can have these big sales with big profit behind them. And, you don't need a whole team of people fulfilling all of your dog eyelashes in hopes that you made $3 at the end of the day. You can sell big products and make big sales. I'll share one of my own. It was on the first business I ever had. So I owned the3dprinterguy.com. Sold 3D printers, and I made a sale to a school for $26,000. And honestly, one of my favorite days in business, still to this day. It was such a cool moment to make that sale. And what made it even cooler was I didn't know how to finance this thing, right? So a school's going to want net 30. They're going to want to buy it. They're going to want it to show up at the school. And 30 days later, they'll pay you that $26,000. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have a credit card to swallow that back in the day. Heck, I might not have a card to swallow that now. It's a big purchase for a credit card company to eat. And so I reached out to my manufacturer, and they were like, congratulations, you won the bid. Obviously, they had other people bidding on the project. They were so happy for me. They said, we're going to give you net 30 on top of their net 30. So essentially net 60. We'll cover the whole thing. We'll ship it to the school. We'll take care of everything. You just sit back and enjoy having a monster sale. They were super friendly with me, and I think that's due to the relationship building that we teach in our course, John, and having a really good relationship with this supplier, with this brand. They saw what I was trying to build. It was really cool that they helped me out like that. Yeah, cool day. 26,000. That's a big sale, and I don't remember the profit off the top of my head, but it was probably around 30%, maybe 40%. So yeah, somewhere $7,000 to $10,000 profit in one day is it's a good feeling.
Yeah, that's wild. It's a good story. It's a good story. I like the big sales. It's like one of those problems, because it's a real problem. Like when you get a really big sale, like I got to pay for it. That's probably the first thing that kind of crosses your mind after the excitement of that big sale and realizing that, oh, holy shit, I just made like a month's worth of profit in one sale, or maybe more in some circumstances. And then you're like, oh, but I'm drop shipping. I've got to pay for this thing up front. Yeah. I don't have $50,000 sitting in my bank account. But yeah, you're right. It's a great opportunity. Your suppliers are always going to be happy when you come to them with these sort of orders. Let's be real. And they will always, they already have customers who they are providing, net terms in some way too. Yes, that's not where you're currently at, but it is one of those cool ways that you can kind of, demonstrate, that the value that you bring to that supplier, and yeah, I can't think of ever hearing from somebody who, was in that situation where they didn't get some sort of love from the supplier to help them progress that sale, because the supplier wants to make that sale too, and they already will have the arrangements in place to offer net terms and things like that, because as I say, they'll be doing it for other people who hold stock of their products or physical retail stores or whatever it might be. And sometimes it can be a good way just to get yourself into a net 30-day account with them. We generally don't talk about doing that, but sometimes it does become an option, and, sometimes you might want to do that. So it's one of the few problems in business. I think that it's great to have that.
I think that some of the other cool memories I have around it are, often you're not talking to a business owner, right? You're talking to a rep, a salesperson at their company. I can remember quite a few times that, I've got on these calls, we shoot the shit. Heck, Ben sitting by me, he talks to one lady and they talk about the Buffalo Bills constantly. And she loves football and they're buddy. And she's stuck her neck out for us in very similar ways to what I'm going to say now. I've made friends, air quote friends with your rep and really built relationships there so that when I get the email that says, hey, we're looking at 17 units of this and 13 units of this, what's the best price you can do? And I go call my rep, that rep will go, I see you got an email from this company. They already know about it, right? Because their other dealers have also gotten the same email and they've all reached out. Whether they should or should not tell you the pricing that everyone else is kind of going to go with. I've had a few that, hey, I think you should, what are you thinking about offering? And I'll be like, I think I'm going to put it at this price. And they'll like, hey, maybe go $2,000 lower. And I think you might win the deal. Right. And so they've kind of stuck their neck out for you. And again, it comes back to relationships. This game is all about building good relationships with your suppliers, with your customers. This whole thing is a relationship game. And so I can remember a few times my rep, kind of nudging me in the right direction to make sure I win some of these bids, which is that's the type of relationship you should have, I hope, with your rep or your supplier.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, another thing I think it's worth saying is, about these larger sales, and thinking of certainly all of the times where I've heard or spoken to, one in my own experience of large sales that I've had, but also where I've spoken to, our students or people in our community who have also had large sales. They always come, via like having good customer service. So I think when people are on the outside, you haven't started a business yet, maybe you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, that would be really cool. Imagine if I just got that sort of sale and it just popped up and I've got like this $50,000 sale. It's not really how it happens. Like most of the time, there's going to be some work that's been done with the customer and all of that sort of thing. And oftentimes you win those big orders because you're offering, you're basically being the most proactive with the customer as well. And so I think it's a really good mindset to bring. Certainly when I think of some people I've talked to recently who've been doing orders in like those sort of $20,000 ranges, I think that's actually not very uncommon. Certainly I was talking to Holly the other day. She had some orders like that recently, and a couple of other people I've been talking to, and they're like, yeah, I've got these $25,000 orders and that sort of thing. And when you talk to them about, so how did I always ask every time I hear somebody say these sort of things, I'm like, where did that come from? Like, how did that happen? Like, what sort of customer was that? Just because I'm genuinely curious about where every time I see a really good result, I always ask, why did that happen? Because I'm automatically thinking, okay, what do I need to do to put myself in a position to get more of those happening? And almost always, certainly in recent times, that the feedback has been that they got from the customer was just, why did they get the order? They got specific feedback from the customer that you like sat with us and helped us in a way that nobody else was really doing. Like just listen to what we needed, like thought about it, talked to the supplier, worked out how can we, get an outcome that fits this person's, because often it's business to business sales, the big ones, right, as well. Like how can we find a solution that fits the outcome that this person's looking for? And that's what got them across the line. You know what I mean? So, I think if you want to generate more and more of these orders, you've got to kind of like make sure you're available and make sure that you're, like being proactive with customers, following them up, answering their questions, all of that sort of thing as best you can. And where you need to go and find more information, go and do it. But and certainly the biggest sale that I've ever heard of, and it's not my own actually, and I'm going to go and speak on Carla's behalf. Carla is one of our longtime students, and she's actually one of our Dropship Breakthru coaches now as well. She's in Australia.
Come on the show, Carla.
Yeah, we're going to make that happen. But this was going back a couple of years at least now, maybe 2 or 3 years, I think. And I may get the number a little bit wrong, but I'm in the right ballpark. Carla had $120,000 order, just a single order. And this is what I mean. And I love Carla. She's so down to earth, so straightforward. this was from multiple products, right? And she couldn't get those like from suppliers in Australia. There just wasn't the quantity there available. Now, for most people, and I think the customer was a large charity or something like that, and they were buying multiple of these products I don't know if they were giving them away or what they were doing with them exactly. And there just wasn't enough of these products around. So Carla literally went, and like for most people, that'd be like, oh, okay, well, I can't do it. I don't have the products aren't here, and they're not going to be here, and all of that sort of thing, and they're going to be defeated at that point because their supplier relationships they have aren't going to do it. Not Carla. She was just like, oh, I don't think I can fulfill it, but I'm just going to say yes. I'm going to take the money, and then I'm going to work out how I'm going to fulfill it, which is sometimes the best way to go about things you don't know how to do. Put yourself in a situation where you have to do it. And she actually went to the source of where these products come from, which is in China, as it is for many products, and got her own products, got a container load of these products shipped directly for her. And that was her solution. Worked a bit with the customer to make sure the time frames all lined up, and it was a success. And I think from that point, Carla's certainly gone on to private label a lot of other products as well. That was kind of one of her launching points into doing that more and more and more. So that was a really cool story. Myself, certainly I was thinking back to some of my big sales, and I actually went out and tried to find the product. I can remember I did one sale back when I was doing sort of my first big experience of a large sale, was in my first business, the chandeliers business, chic chandeliers. And I'm going to share it here. Because I actually went and found the product on the supplier's website. So this is the supplier's website. Chic Chandeliers isn't up anymore. The people who bought it off me have disappeared or something. This was actually my supplier for these chandeliers, and it was this style of chandelier, but it was like a bigger one. So all chandeliers, you can get them in different styles, and I think the ones I had were like about 40 or 50 lights. They were much bigger, but it was this sort of shape. We had to get them custom made, once again, because they wanted that shape, but they wanted larger ones than kind of like what the stock ones were. So we had to get them custom made by a manufacturer in Hong Kong. And that was, it was for a concert hall in Melbourne somewhere. And I think they bought like 10 of them. It was like $60,000 thereabouts, all up. And that was my first experience. But once again, there was a lot of toing and froing. Like I said, the products had to get custom made. We had to check the time frames were right. Had to spend a bit of time talking to the supplier and the manufacturer about the configuration of the lights and the weights and all of that sort of thing. And there was a lot of toing and froing. But that's cool because, I don't remember what the profit was, but it would have been at least 30% to me off that. And that's a lot of money. Like to take in a single sale for probably combined all up, really. It was probably about across the whole span of that, there was probably about 2 hours in it of just conversations in total. Like that was spread across probably a month or so, right? So it's not like I sat there for 2 hours to do it, backwards and forwards with suppliers and the customer, and then that got across the line. And once again, the reason that got across the line was because I knew I was actually the only person selling that supplier's products online, which kind of put me in a good position. But like I went and negotiated with the supplier to get the products custom made, whereas all of the other light people in Australia at that point in time didn't have options to do custom stuff, right? And I didn't even know I did, but I just sat down with the supplier and said, "Hey, look, I know you've got this in with this manufacturer and blah blah blah. Can we get it custom made?" And that all worked out. So going that extra mile in that circumstance really got it across the line.
I'm glad you mentioned that because it is often that, right? It is you going the extra mile. It is you answering your phone, as we often preach to everyone. It is you just helping your customer. The last one I thought of, John, was Brian and I made a government sale, and it was like $88K just selling standing desk converters to the NSA or CIA or one of the 3-letter agencies. And I only brought that up because those are weird. Like the way that you get government orders is strange. Like you kind of bid on them. There's a website for this that you have to sign up for. But the American government has allocated a large part of their budget to minorities, to women, to veteran owned. So there are many people who have taken our course who are in that position. Maybe they are a female veteran, which puts them in a unique place to get some of those orders from the government, or a minority. I hope I don't get this wrong, but I'm pretty sure Magic Johnson, like the great basketball player, like that's how he has made all of his money. I hope I'm thinking of the right guy. He's a minority, right? And so he set up a shell company which would win these bids and pass them on, and he would just take a vig in the process. I believe that's the story I heard. I'm not saying I'm telling the truth or not on that one, but I believe that's the story I heard. And so it's a very interesting model to get in front of those orders. And I would encourage anyone listening, if you are female led, or if you're veteran owned, or if you're minority, like this is a real opportunity for you. And even if you're not those, it's still a real opportunity for you. The U.S. government buys more than anyone in the entire world. They are the biggest purchaser of everything. And so they make websites like sam.gov and things like that to get in front of these orders and place your bids. And you'd be shocked. I've sold some weird stuff in my day, and I've went to those sites and they're buying them. So it's kind of strange. They buy everything. So hopefully we can get somebody on who can kind of walk through that process, because it's an interesting process.
Yeah. And they're, like government, all sorts of large organizations like that, or institutions, have, certainly in Australia, I know that they have like approved supplier lists, right? And they have processes for getting on those. And once you're on those, like they're sort of anybody who's involved in purchasing for that company can only buy stuff from those approved sort of suppliers. And yes, as a dropshipper, you can be on those. And so I would like this is it. I think this is one of the reasons why I love kind of B2B, is that for high ticket dropshipping is that you have those opportunities, and they're not things that anybody else is thinking of. Right? Like, at least not in the online business space. So from a competition perspective, you can go out there and find all of that. Like, yeah, you got to sell a relevant product that those sort of institutions or organizations or government, is likely to be in the market for. But you go and put yourself in some of those places, participate in tender processes. There's a lot of different stuff you can do. Like in Australia, like governments and things, they have like open tenders. There's like websites for you, so you can just go and look through all of the open tenders at the moment. If any of them are for buying physical products, if you've got a supplier, you can go and submit. Yeah, I can supply these products. You go and check with your supplier first. Can we do a quantity? Yep. Okay. Work out the best price you can do based on your margins, and suffice to say as well, if your supplier, when it comes to margins for large orders as well, that's negotiable in a way that it's not for other orders. So sometimes, if you've got a product that maybe the margins aren't fantastic on individually, but you have somebody who's interested in buying like 10 of them, you can go to your supplier and say, hey, I got a big order for these products. Can we do a better price? Mm-hmm. Right? And this is the size we're talking about. Can we do a better price on this? Can my price be improved with you for this order, if not for every other order, but just for this order? And you'll find you're more likely to get joy with the supplier there as well, because they're going to be looking at it as the total dollar amount. It's going to be better for them. Can they take a bit of a haircut? Usually they can.
I'm glad you brought up the approved vendor thing. I didn't even, it totally spaced on me, but I was talking to one of our students recently about that. He's going through that same process of like filling out those forms and getting approved. And when you said it brought back up that happened to me. I want to say it was with the 3D printer guy of like a business who, in order to buy from me, had to get me approved. And then once I was approved, I was the only one approved for the filament, the stuff for the 3D printers to actually print with. And so they would just keep coming back and buying from me. They would just send me an email. Send me this order. Here's an invoice for everything we need, kind of thing. And they weren't going anywhere else because I was the only approved vendor for that. So I think too many people think, who am I, right? Like, I'm just some drop shipper. Well, everyone is just some guy in a garage, right? Amazon started as like an office with they ripped down the door and made a desk out of it and spray painted Amazon on the wall. Like we're all these small businesses. America, Australia is made up of a large amounts of small businesses, and people got to buy from somewhere, man. Why not buy from you?
Yeah. We get in our heads about it and think the customer cares or the customer even knows.
Yeah.
Like, what does the customer care about? Like, ultimately, what does the customer care about? They care about the outcome. That's why they're looking at products. They want an outcome. They want it for the right price, the right time frame, et cetera, but they want an outcome. That's what they truly care about. And so as long as you can demonstrate that you're capable of helping them get the best outcome, which has nothing to do with your business size, it has everything to do with how you talk to them, how you interact with them, how far you're willing to go out of your way to help them, within reason. Obviously, if a customer's been unreasonable and stupid, you don't need to go out of your way. But, it's got nothing to do with your size. Your customer is not thinking they're going, I'm not going to buy off these guys if they don't have at least 10 staff or whatever. That's not like, think about yourself when you're buying something. Do you really think about that? Like, do you think, this company better be big enough or I'm not going to buy from them? No, you don't. If they've got a great product, like I cannot think of ever thinking that once in my life. I might check, is this a legitimate company? Maybe. But if you talk to people on the phone, that is immediately going to go out of their mind. Like the minute they start interacting with your business in a one-on-one sense, that concern goes out the window, particularly if you are reasonably knowledgeable, you're friendly, you're supportive, that's not a concern. And so it's the same in the B2B space as well. Maybe, you might have some requirements that you need to meet in terms of, business registrations, and you might need a company and all of that sort of stuff. But once again, people just don't care. We tend to overthink in our minds what other people think about us, right? Personal life as well, not just in business. People aren't giving you a second thought past, are you helping them get what they want? If the answer to that is yes, they don't give a shit about the rest.
Well, I know we have some heavy hitters listening to this show right now who have bigger sales than whatever John and I mentioned, maybe not bigger than Carla. Drop in the comments. If you're on YouTube, leave a comment. If you're on Spotify, leave a comment. I'm curious, what kind of big numbers have you guys done? And if you're sitting on the sidelines thinking, man, I want to make those big sales, well, what are you waiting for? Head to dropshipbreakthru.com, take the free training, hop on a call, dropshipbreakthru.com/call, and get started today. You can make these big sales. It's not as hard as it may seem. In fact, it's honestly pretty simple. Thanks for listening to the Dropship Podcast. You can find all the show notes for this episode at dropshippodcast.com. And if you're ready to take the next step in your dropshipping journey, we invite you to join us inside Dropship Breakthru, where John and I will walk you through step by step in starting your own high-ticket dropshipping e-commerce business. But that's not all. Dropship Breakthru will also teach you everything you'll need to know to grow your business and take it to the next level. So head over to dropshipbreakthru.com and sign up for our free training that will help you take the first steps towards building and growing your own profitable high-ticket dropshipping business.